Nā, I te mātakitaki a Donna Awatere-Huata, rāua ko Matthew Hooten I tērā tau kumekume. Kei tō Jody taha rāua I nāia nei.
Donna, former ACT member, what did you think of Dr. Brash and how he's handled himself this week?
I thought the close-up interview was quite a brilliant meeting of a lot of tension there, and it was just quite riveting. I think today
all they did was fight with each other the whole time, though. Do you think that's what voters are actually looking for in the lead up to an election, a punch-up?
Actually, I thought they articulated their point of views really well. But today, I think they're kind of like old lovers. They sort of got used to each other. And
it's the second time they've ever actually sat together in several years, according to Hooten.
That's right, but I think the first encounter was really quite engaging and riveting. But this one, I think they're kind of getting a little bit used to each other, and I think it just lacked that energy.
Matthew, what do you think of Hooten's performance this week?
Oh, well, both Don Brash and Harawira are benefiting from these debates because they get to contrast one another from it. Look, I think this was a good debate compared with the close-up one. There was no nonsense about people being Hitler or, Osama bin Laden being a good guy, and there was some serious issues debated here. And the underlying issue, I guess, between them is that Harawira sees things in a race context and identity politics point of view, whereas in a way Don Brash...
So does Don Brash,
No,
though,
Don Brash sees things more in a class analysis. So what I think Don Brash is getting across is that he thinks you help people because they need help, not because of their race. And when you think of it, Ralph Norris is Maori. He is the most highly paid New Zealand executive in the world. He earns $20 million a year. The chairman of the Business Roundtable is Maori, Rob McLeod. He's chairman of Ernst & Young. He earns millions of dollars a year, presumably. And I think what Don Brash is saying, he doesn't feel they should be helped, whereas a Pākehā kid in South Auckland should. And that's the difference between the two views.
Don't you think both of them, though, are playing the race card?
Well, I think if you go back to the genesis of all this, which was the Orewa speech in 2004 and the one before that in 2003, if you recall, Hooten turned up on the doorstep when Don was about to go in and deliver that speech to complain about the inciting of racial hatred and all that kind of thing before the 2004. Then when he delivered that speech, there was a connection that he made between people going to Australia, the decline in our economy, the whole economy was sinking, and he linked that to Māori who have trapped, he says, New Zealand in the 19th century. And I think it was that blaming Māori for the woes of the country that really upset Māori. And I mean, you remember in that same speech where he accused Māori of inventing spiritual beliefs for money. And I think that hurt a lot of Māori because that's not where we're at. And I think what he's done now is reprise that. And I think there's still that element of inciting, because if you look at the language that he's using...
Dr. Brash is saying that he's basically not an extremist, and Hooten Harawira is trying to say he's not an extremist as well. Do you consider them both extreme?
On the racial matters, yes, Don is extreme. But on the economic things, a lot of the things that he's saying about we should catch up to Australia, we need to help businesses by getting rid of unnecessary regulations that are strangling businesses. Some of the tax rates need to become more equivalent to what they've got in Australia. We need to reform education. That's an absolute definite. Now, there are some things he's saying. Where he loses the plot is where he gets on to blaming Māori for the woes of the country.
Well, I don't think he does blame Māori, but even if he does, it's not a very sensible view because Māori are, what, 15% of the population, yet we're 50%, or nearly 50% behind Australia. So it can't all be Māori's fault that we're 50%
That's right.
behind
Well,
Australia.
fortunately now he's changed his tack this week, and he's actually included John Key as to blame.
Well,
okay, Māori and John Key.
We've got 1 minute left, and I just want to ask the both of you. The last election campaign was highly divisive in terms of race relations. We had that iwi Kiwi billboard drama. Can we expect more? Do you think it'll actually be even more racial?
Well, I hope not, because the most important issue and the thing that Don Brash can offer is the things Donna's talking about. We have to have a sensible economic debate in New Zealand. John Key and Phil Goff are not giving us a sensible economic debate. Hopefully Don Brash can bring some intelligence to that debate and if he focuses on the economy and less on race issues, Don Brash will be doing a great thing for New Zealand.
OK, thank you, Matthew. Now, Donna, just one final last question. Dr Brash said that potentially he is looking for a Māori person to stand for ACT. Would that be you?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
You'd be mad to go back into Parliament for me. But I just think that the line that he's drumming up, which is racial incitement and racial hatred, it's just not a path that we need to go down.
Okay.
And while it's going to do well for him and ACT, and I think it is a good move on his part, it's actually going to harm Māori, and I fear for our young.
All right, thank you very much, Donna. Thank you very much, Matthew. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Jodie, me te mihi nui hoki kia Donna, rāua ko Matthew.